Africa, come my sister, and let us build a nation together. So much of things that we need to see about. Surely I do have to spell them out. Cause you know as well as I do, the only way is putting more effort and less play. Because now, more than ever, we must show discipline, tolerance, and production to build a strong and better nation. I say that is the main foundation. So come let us work hand in hand.
So come let us work hand in hand, because this is our land. We have a duty to produce and transform Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique, because this is our land. And it's just like your home. You clean in regularly. You're, put in a little extension, maybe the veranda, maybe the downstairs, maybe another room. You repainting. You always trying to make it better and to maintain it. It's just like our country. This is our place. This is where we will be, or our children will grow up. So we want it to be always improving, always better. I want to encourage the folks on Facebook and YouTube to please share the live. Sharing is caring. When you share the live, your friends on your page, they get the opportunity to follow the program, to listen to the program. I want to start off this morning by saying what happened last night in Happy Hill will not change anything on the political landscape. And people who know me, I have predicted, I have forecast on many occasions and tell you this is what will happen. And you have seen it come to pass. Because even if Keith Mitchell had endorsed as a caretaker, a Cribo, or a Crapo, or a Lizard in his constituency to take over as the candidate or the caretaker, right? I think caretaker first, and then you have to go through a screening process when election comes closer to become a candidate. So even if he had endorsed or put forward a Lizard or a Cockroach or a Cribo, that constituency will go for it and they would endorse it, they would support it. So my good pal being endorsed as the caretaker for that constituency, I mean, it's not, to me, it's not a wow, it's not this big excitement, because that constituency and St. Mark, they've always been in the NNP pot. Even when NDC wins, they maintain that NNP status. It's like an NNP stronghold. But if you go into those two constituencies, St. George Northwest and St. Mark, you would realize that they have not advanced that much. They have not developed that much. They have not received serious attention over the many years. All you need to do is to go in the back end of those constituencies. So when you go to Cherry Hill, go on the back end of it. When you go to Grand Mall, go on the back end, go inside, and you would see for yourself. When you go to Fontenoy, same thing. When you go to Montmorris, same thing. Just go on the back end. Well, Montmorris, to a certain extent, they're a little different, right? Because they're kind of independent somewhat. Then you go to Happy Hill. Well, don't even talk about Happy Hill. Go in the back end of Happy Hill, the inside of Happy Hill, and Boucherjou, and Brizan, and parts of Willis and so on. That's all what you have to do. And you would see, if you go to St. Mark, a similar thing. Go to Diamond, right? Go to, what do you call it, Coast Guard or Coast Gap or whatever, Coast Guard, I think they call it up there. At the top, go in those areas. Go to the back end of Victoria, the different streets, the back end. Or go up to Waltham and those areas. And you would see Fontaine. And so go to the back end. And you would realize, so those constituencies, they have always remained with NNP, but they have not received any serious attention. They have not developed in any big way, right? And I can tell you, as I predicted what would happen in St. George Northwest and what I think would happen nationally in terms of the election outcome, and the individual would, because there's a great probability that Emlyn will not make it come the election in terms of winning or seats and so on. And I want to tell you also, there's a great probability that Keith Mitchell's wife, I think she's his wife now, she may run in St. Mark. There's a great probability that she may run in St. Mark. Because you see, what Keith Mitchell will try to do is to still have a stronger hold on the NNP. And to have a stronger hold on the NNP, he needs to have some key loyalists placed in there to control, to take control, and to dominate the NNP. Because Emlyn Pay is not capable of leading anything. She doesn't have what it takes. She never created a buzz. She never created that wow, that excitement. So NNP never moved forward, moved anywhere. The needle never moved. So he knows that. He's not stupid. So he wants to put certain people in certain constituencies. So the Ayanna Charles, I think is her name, there would be a biddy bang between she and Keith Mitchell's wife, I believe, for that constituency, St. Mark. All right, because he knows that these two constituencies are safe constituencies for the NNP. So once he have somebody placed in his constituency and one in Clarice Modest's constituency, then those two seats, he knows that down the road they're safe seats. Generally, they're safe seats. There are some people who want to talk nonsense about NDC stands a chance in those two constituencies. NDC has to focus on the other constituencies because they are viable and they can win all the other constituencies. Right? So your resources need to be pumped in those constituencies that you can win. So it's a chessboard move by Keith Mitchell. It is a chessboard move. If you don't know, let me tell you. Because he will love to say to Emlyn Pay, get out. You are a waste of time. You did not want the move to make you leader of that party. He will love to do that and have her walk out and back off. But she's not going to back off now. And he's not going to do that. So what he's doing instead is putting key people in some of those constituencies to guarantee his legacy within the party and have a strong hold on the party. All right? So what happened in Happy Hill, that was not any biggie for me. I knew that a long time ago, right? No biggie. Let's move on. I want to say to you, the NDC has been in power for 3 years and a half. So June coming or July the 1st would make it about what? 4 years, right? July the 1st, 4 years. And if you go around and you speak to people generally, and you ask, in speaking to them, you ask the question, can you remember some things that the NDC did? And some of them may even fumble to tell you, because Grenadians have a way of quickly forgetting good things. And that is why during the NNP reign, during the NNP time in power, when they won the election, they would do a little thing in the first year and a half, and then they would slow things down from that period to the next almost 3 years or 4 years. So you have about 1 year again to go before the election, or 2 years again, and then they start doing things. So people are going to remember what they did in the last 1 year and a half. But the NDC's style of governance is different. When they came into power, they started doing things, and they continue to do every single day. They continue to do every single week, every single month, every year. They never stop doing stuff. And because they did so many things to help our people, there are some people who are going to forget some of the things that they did. Because people can quickly forget the good things. You're in a relationship and you're doing so many good things. But just do one bad thing, and that person going to remember that one bad thing for the entire relationship. But all the good things that you did, they would forget it. Well, at least the majority of people will forget it. And it's a similar thing in the politics. How many people remember that the NNP docked the salaries of teachers, of public workers who went out to protest, to demonstrate for their pension and their gratuity? The pension and gratuity, which they are constitutionally within their rights to fight for it because it was theirs. It was legitimately theirs. And they were promised by the NNP that it will be paid. The increase, the pension, the gratuity. And when they went out on the streets, the NNP decided to dock their salaries, take money out of their salaries around Christmas time. And they did that. They took $1.2 million, the NNP administration, $1.2 million from the salaries of teachers, from the salaries of public officers. That is what the NNP did. How many people remember that? And when the NDC came into power, one of the first things they did was to give back the teachers and public officers their money. I am convinced that some of the people, some of the teachers and public officers who got back their money forget that they were on the streets marching and protesting, and that there was work to rule in place, where the unions say, we're not doing anything. We're advising all our teachers not to do anything extra. So no sports, no intercol, no science fair, no debates, nothing extra. No extra classes, nothing extra. That was the environment that existed under the NNP time. And the NDC When they came into power, one of the first things they did was to pay the teachers back their money, to give them back their money. But I bet you some people already forget that. You remember also that public officers, when they retired after serving, in some instances, 40 years, in some instances, 38 years, they were going home without a pension under the NNP. So the NNP was not giving them their pension. And constitutionally, they supposed to get their pension. They were not giving them their pension. They went on the streets and they march and they march and they march for years. The NNP refused to give them their pension. 500 and something of them, some of them died. They never received their pension from the NNP. When the NDC came into power, the NDC paid $75.1 million to these pensioners. They gave them their backlog, their gratuity, and their pension. And some of these same people are getting that pension until they die. And if they have a widow, that person will benefit by getting a widow's pension. It's simple like that. The NDC paid those pensioners their money. How many people remember that? The doc salaries being paid, pensioners being paid, and those who are retiring now, every time they retire, they get in their gratuity and they get in their pension. How many people remember that? Just think for a moment. The regularization of public workers. How many people remember that? That word regularization was never in the vocabulary of the NNP. They were never about making workers permanent. The NDC came into power and they made a lot of teachers permanent, a lot of nurses permanent, a lot of public officers permanent. Some of them were acting. A lot of them were on just a letter. They couldn't go to the bank. They couldn't go to the credit union. The NDC made them permanent, giving them job security. How many people remember that? How many people remember the 13% increase and fringe benefits that were given to public officers? How many people remember that? Because during the NNP time, when it comes to increase in salaries, the unions had to call out the workers to protest and demonstrate on the streets. And the NNP would offer them 1% or 0.5%. Or maybe 1.5%. That's how they did the whole thing. They treated them badly for a long period of time. They treated them like nothing. The NDC came into power. They didn't have to go on the streets and march and demonstrate for that 13% increase and all the fringe benefits that came with it. They didn't have to do that. No. But I am certain there is a lot of people in Grenada who forget that. Even some of the workers forget that. You remember the TAMCC workers who were out there in the hot sun, beating drums, blowing bubuzelas and conch shell for the money that the NNP refused to pay them. The NNP administration refused to pay these people. You remember that? When the NDC came into power, they paid these people their money, $20-something million paid to the TAMCC. lecturers and faculty, and then a conducive learning environment return to TAMCC. Lest you forget those things, because people forget things quite quickly, and especially when it's good stuff, when it's good things. The WASH program that the NDC started was a very important program. You know why? NNP left 8,715 people using pit latrines and open bathrooms, standpipes, and you pump up some galvanized thing. That is what the NNP left the Grenadian people with. Almost 9,000 people using pit latrines in this country. When the NDC came into power, they started the WASH program, giving people with pit latrines a modern bathroom and toilet facility. A modern bathroom and toilet facility. They painting it, they're doing the plumbing, they're doing the electrical, they're giving them a sink, they're giving them the face basin or a sink, they're giving them the toilet bowl, everything. They're doing the tank, the sewer, everything. Everything. For these people, for these families, giving them decency back, making them be proud to bring somebody in that house. And when rain falling, they don't have to go and bathe all over. Thing though splashing up on them when they go to use the pit latrines. The NDC did that. And I'm certain that there are some people they forget already. The amount of pit latrines that the NNP left. Lest you forget these things. The Molina Road. Remember what people used to pass, They used to pass up Mount Morris and then go into Happy Hill. And then the NNP said, well, they can't do it and the NDC can't do it and they won't be able to do it. Today, look at that piece of road. Look at that piece of road. The NDC did it. The Monkuma Road was unfinished. The NDC completed that piece of road. Lest you forget those things. Lest you forget, because people are quick to forget these things. The JUMP program, the NDC recognized that after, during COVID-19, a lot of people, a lot of young people, a lot of students found it very difficult to access education online because, during that time it was online learning. Schools were closed down and that kind of thing. So what they did, and it was due in part because those households had no internet and no device or no devices. The NDC teamed up with Flow and started the JUMP program, providing free internet or $20 internet service, a free device, a laptop, and free training to train them how to use it. Those households, and a lot of households have already benefited from this initiative. And I think they're targeting 600 households this year. So last year it was about 5 something. And this year I think they're targeting either 600 or 700 households to give them internet access, a free device, and training. Don't forget this. No, don't forget it, right? This is important. Very, very important. The free tuition that was not existing under NNP, where students are now able to go to TAMCC, go to NULO, and the tuition is paid by the government every year. $810. Lest you forget those things, people. The free hot meal program, where 16,000 students benefit daily from a hot meal. That never existed under NNP. No, you had to pay for it under the NNP. Same thing with the free tuition. You had to pay for it. The parents had to find the $810. Grenadian history being taught in our primary schools, that was never existing under NNP. A foreign language being taught at the primary school level, that was never existing under NNP. The NDC introduced these things. Lest you forget, because people can forget these good things quickly. The land regularization, making sure that people who are on crown lands, government lands, that they get a deed and a plan so that they can pass it on to the next generation. That's generational wealth being created. NDC did that. We can forget things quite quickly. The pay and grade that police officers are now enjoying, the $710 that a constable is now getting, that didn't come easy. Well, easy under the NDC, but when they were fighting for years under the NNP, for years for that pay and grade, many officers died and never got it. But now they're enjoying it because NDC gave them that increase. The new police headquarters, for example, that was promised during the NNP time. Since in 2013, 2014, 2015, somewhere down there. And the NNP never built no new police headquarters or found or find or look for a police headquarters and upgrade it, fix it. They never did that for these police officers. The Hillsborough police station, that was run down, burial or not. NNP never did anything for that police station, the Hillsborough police station. So NDC, come and fix it for the police officers, right? Make it modern. The St. Paul's police station, the NDC fixed that police station. And then there are some small police stations that the NDC fixed. Now they're, they relocated the police station in Grenville, fix up that temporary structure, and they're building a brand new facility, because that old facility, nothing much could be done there for the police officers in Grenville. The NDC again, lest you forget those things. People could forget these things easily, you know. Easy, like 1, 2, 3. The nurses, you got $500 more on your salary. $500 more on your salary. During the time of the NNP, they call you chicken thieves. And they said that you're pilfering from the stock at the hospital. And under NDC, your uniform allowance increased. Under NDC, the doctors receiving $1,000 more on their salary. Lest you forget these things. People can easily forget these things. After Hurricane Ivan and Emily, we didn't hear about government doing Build Back Better houses and painting them and putting electricity in them and putting bathroom and toilet in them. I worked with Housing Authority just after Hurricane Ivan. I worked with Housing Authority. So I know, I'm not guessing this. The houses that were built, they just built it how it used to be. Right? If you had 5 pillars, 6 pillars, 9 pillars, just build the same thing. That's what they did. No bathroom, no nothing. And they left you there with that. But the NDC, after Hurricane Beryl, they continue to build Back Better houses with bathrooms, well painted, electricity done or the electrical work done, the plumbing done, they're giving them veranda, and so on and so forth. And then they have the housing, the Ministry of Housing, building bathrooms for people and building houses for people separate and apart. Lest you forget these things. People could forget these things easily. Easily, folks. Right? And then you look at the lighting of the Progress Park in Grenville. The NDC had to come and do that. The lighting of the stadium, the cricket stadium, the NDC had to come and do that. The lighting of many different playing fields, Lasso Jest, Grove, right? Power Park, Malmont, Montu. And in Montu, they put a bathroom there where you could urinate on number two and number one in that facility. All the years NNP been in power, they never saw the need to build a little bathroom and toilet at that facility. Monrouge playing field, the Limes playing field lit. If you go to Hope, they put a bathroom and they lit Hope Beach. They light it up, solar lights on Hope Beach, and they put a bathroom there. Emlyn Pear been MP for that area for all the years. She never had the wisdom, the vision to light up that beach and put a bathroom and toilet facility there. Come on, just think about it. Think about it. And then the solar light project in communities where women were afraid to go out in the night. The solar light project transformed those communities, lit those communities. This is important. But people could forget these things easily because the way NDC govern, they never stop doing things. And they never trick the people. Where you come into power, the first year you do some stuff, then you stop, and then 1 year before the election, then you start doing some stuff. They never did that. That's how NNP operated. Lest you forget these things. The Fort George project, that project on the fort, NNP abandoned that project. NDC said, no, this is a grant. That's grant aid, free money given to upgrade the fort. And NDC grabbed that opportunity and they upgraded the fort. The Southern Water Expansion Project that you see going on now, the NNP lost that project. The NDC got back that project. And we have seen it happening where water, pipe-borne water, is carried to the people in the south of the island, right? And St. George, generally, St. John, parts of St. John, parts of St. George, it's not just south alone, it's throughout, right? And that's important, very important. The Maribor Abattoir, look at how meat used to be handled. Just check it out. Look at how meat used to be handled. Come on. Just think. Think about it. Just think for a moment now. Take some time. A modern Maribor Abattoir. And then you have the tissue culture plant or tissue culture lab. Not plant. Tissue culture lab. A brand new tissue culture lab at Maribor. And then you have the TAMCC school at Maribor, where they brought that back. Then you know, some people forget the CES program that the NDC initiated, assisting almost 600 small and medium-sized businesses with up to $30,000 in assistance to get their business back on track after COVID-19, you know, more or less ground their businesses. Just think about it. Look at the amount of small businesses that benefited significantly from that. The NDC spent hundreds of millions of dollars in scholarships for young men and women. Hundreds of millions. I think it was about either $300 or $400 million for the last 3 years and a half. You remember tax amnesty? The NDC gave tax amnesty to everybody. Businesses, house owners, property owners. You remember that? Or you forget that already? Tax amnesty. You know which people benefited from that? Where you owe millions and millions, you're able to go in and just get your record clean and start anew. And know when I speak about some of these things, it would kind of hit you hard because many of you benefited from these things. The license upgrade. Folks had to go and pay some driving school to go back on the road and learn to drive them little van and so on. After 5 years, you could just go and upgrade your license. After 5 years, just go and upgrade your license. Thanks to the NDC. The passport, you'll go to the US Embassy. You get a visa for 10 years, but your passport is 5 years. You go to the Canadian Embassy, you get a visa for 5 years, right? Because your passport is 5 years. But if you have a passport for 10 years, they'll give you a 10 years visa. The NDC brought that back. 10 years passport, and you're paying very little for it. Lest you forget these things, look at the amount of community centers throughout Grenada, Carriacou, Petit Martinique that the NDC renovated and bring back to life, painted, put electrical stuff, furnish it, and they have events and activities and so on in those community centers. Look at the amount of playing fields that the NDC upgraded, right, redo, and lit. There are playing areas adjacent to those playing fields for families to just go and relax with their kids and have a wonderful time. Don't forget, the NDC increase the amount of money given in poor relief assistance. Some people used to get $300, now they're getting $500 every month. And then they give them this kind of debit card or this card that they can go, instead of going in the line in the hot sun and line up and wait for the money by some revenue office in some constituency, they can just go in an ATM, Co-op Bank, ATM, and withdraw that money. Lest you forget these things. After the passage of Hurricane Beryl, a lot of people got assistance through something they call BRISC, right? Where about, I think it was 500 or 600 or 700 people, they were given money every month to help them, to keep them going, right? Every month, they were given a certain amount of money for about 5 or 6 months. Things about up to 6 months. And a lot of people benefited from that. A lot of people. Remember the creatives? There was no conversation about creatives. People never know and talk about the creatives in our society, the creative industry. The NDC make us know that there are creatives in our society contributing meaningfully towards the development of this country. And then they gave 100% concession to the creatives, 100% concession. They could bring in the equipment, the material, and so on. And then they opened an office for creative affairs. That was a big thing. So they have a place to go. Then they gave them soft financing, where they, concessionary financing at the Grenada Development Bank to help their business to grow. Then you have the Elevator program, where a lot of young women, I think about 200 young women, getting the opportunity to learn more and to receive a stipend. Then you have Women in Agriculture, where 100 or so women are in a program given a stipend and training to become agro-processors, to become agronomists, to become something in agriculture. Then you have Youth in Agriculture, another 100 again in that program. Then the Empower program that the NDC met, they increased the stipend given to the 400 or so young men to $1,000, from $700 to $1,000. Then you have the grant package that's given to them upon the completion of the training moved from $2,400 to $3,000. Lest you forget those things, because people could forget those things easily. The minimum wage adjustment, where farmers, helpers, laborers, bus conductors, security officers, housekeepers, gardeners, geriatric caregivers, all of them, their salaries increase thanks to the NDC. The NNP never adjusted the minimum wage in all the 23 years in power. Lest you forget those things. The Digital Workforce Initiative, where 100 young men and women got the opportunity to train, where the government paid $2 million to train those young men and women in ICT and cyber, cyber crime and data analysis and that kind of thing, online with the computer and so on. The construction of so many schools, new schools. The St. David Catholic Secondary School, $40-point-something million. The Grenville or the St. Andrew Anglican Primary School, $37-point-something million. The Grenada Christian Academy, 37 or 36-point-something million. The Cali's Government School expansion. Many schools in Carriacou, right? The School for Special Ed. And then a lot of labs and staff rooms have been constructed for a lot of schools in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. The Windward Fish Market in Carriacou. The Windward Jetty. The lighting of the Lauriston Airport, the upgrading of that airport. The Princess Royal Hospital upgrade. The Hillsborough Medical Station. Plenty schools and playgrounds in Petit Martinique. The schools, a lot of work has been done. This is important. But people could forget these things because, it's often said that Grenadians have short memory. The recruitment of more police officers, 3 or 4 batches of police officers or classes, right, of police officers recruited, trained, and they're now police officers. The recruitment of more prison officers. You have the Pre-Delasne Task Force. More young people have been hired in that task force. Vehicles given to them. Farmers are safer. Farmers continue to get concessionary fertilizer plants. In fact, they just announced that farmers can go and buy their plants at reduced cost. This is no joke. This is serious business, people. They have the breeding program. They have so many things happening. Heroes Park, for example, where my good friend, the Honorable Andy Williams, they've organized an event on Saturday coming in, observance of the 52nd anniversary of independence. This is a big thing, but it will be happening at Heroes Park. That was never existing under the NNP. In fact, that land belonged to, or during the NNP time, the owner of that land was Naguib Sawiris, the Egyptian billionaire. Because of the skillful negotiation by the Most Honorable Deacon Mitchell, our beloved Prime Minister, and the Honorable Andy Williams and the team, they were able to get that piece of land. So Camahon Park is now expanded. It's bigger, and they call it Heroes Park now. Right? And then the Radisson, remember, NDC settled a lot of legal, a lot of lawsuits, a lot of international legal issues. Remember, the land that Radisson sits on, that was belonging to this British driver, right? Carissa or whatever. NDC was able to get back that land and put it in the name of the people of Grenada. The land and building where Flamboyant used to be, and it was Kiwana Bay Resort or something like that. The investor that took the NNP administration to the International Court for settlement of investment disputes and so on. And we were in a lawsuit for millions and millions of dollars. I think about 130 million US dollars. And our beloved Prime Minister was able to negotiate and get back that property, get back the lands, because the lands were in the developer or investor name, and compensate the investor. And, and not much money the investor got, but we were able to get that property back. So we were in some serious international legal, cases and so on. Thanks to the NDC, they were able to settle all of these things. And then we have support for athletes, the athletes and, Kirani James, Ambassador Kirani James, Lyndon Victor, all of them, all the athletes, they are recognized more, right? Cricket, athletics, just name it. Basketball, netball, our athletes are recognized more under the NDC. And we have to say it, we have to call it out. The decriminalizing of cannabis. Come on, all them young men and them, very soon they'll have to worry because they used to pick them up for a spliff and they go to jail for a spliff or 2 spliffs. Come on. But most importantly, Grenada name is not in Parang all around the world with conmen and crooks coming in and con the NNP administration of millions and millions of dollars and running away with it, and nobody go to jail, nobody arrested, nobody charged. When last year you heard Grenada name in Parang with all those conmen and crooks and fraudsters coming here? So folks, lest you forget those things. Don't forget those things. No. And there are a lot of more things I can talk about and tell you about. That's just some. That's just some. Right? The bringing back of the students, yes. From Jamaica, Hurricane Beryl, that was a boss move. And then getting them to go back. So a lot of things happened. The response to Beryl, that was really good on the part of the Most Honorable Deacon Mitchell and his team. He didn't go on a battleship, run and hide. Look at how quick Carriacou and Petit Martinique bounced back. And thanks to the resilience of the people of Carriacou and Petit Martinique and the hard work by the Most Honorable Deacon Mitchell and the Honorable Tevin Andrews and his team and the government of Grenada and volunteers and organizations, they bounced back quickly. Yes, they have a lot more to do, but we must feel proud of that. And folks, before I close, I want to tell you, all this talk that people talking about deportees and migrants and so on, I see George Wong put some jackass front page on his newspaper, and I laugh. I said, what's wrong with this, this stupidness that he put there? All right, my good partner, but that front page is uncalled for. You got to stop this jackassery. Stop it. My good partner, stop it, George Wong. Our government and the Most Honorable Deacon Mitchell, he has been able to save this country. One, when the radar issue came up, all of them jump on board. Well, you should do this. He was able to nicely navigate Grenada out of this thing. We didn't get no military radar, right? Nothing much happened to us. Come on. Then the whole issue of the $15,000 for the visa and the bond that you have to put on, we escaped that, right? Nicely because of the negotiation of the Most Honorable Deacon Mitchell. And then you have, the visa issue for green card holders that affected 75 countries, not just Grenada, right? Even Barbados and Jamaica and all of them, right? So we understand that. And then now the deportees or migrants, because I don't think the countries are not asking for deportees. It's migrants, right? So a person going to the United States and, they overstay and that kind of thing. Migrants, they call these people. So the countries are not going to accept criminals, right? You're not going to accept, people with criminal records. So you have to understand that they are between a rock and a hard place, right? Because if they don't, then you have things that may come. Because remember, the banks are connected to the United States and all kind of stuff like that. The CBI program, a whole pile of things. So there are people opening their damn mouth and they know shit. They know nothing. Just yap, yap, yap. But we have not accepted any deportees or any migrant. And the Prime Minister was very, very clear on that. We have not done that. He is in negotiation. Because remember, all the countries, all the islands in the region, they have been told that they have to accept migrants and so on. And so he's negotiating all of these things. So give him some time now. But you go and publish your stupidness on newspaper. And then you have people now thinking that we accepted No, Grenada never accepted any deportees or any migrant or anything of that sort. No. Boy, it's not even funny. Not even funny. But I am happy that the Most Honorable Deacon Mitchell, he has been able to keep Grenada on the right track and negotiate well. And we have to give him his flowers where that is concerned. He don't make irrational decisions, the rush to things. No. But look at in the region, there were 3 or 4 countries or islands in the region who have already accepted migrants. Yeah, they've already accepted because it comes with certain things. And they say, hey, if you don't accept migrants, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. These are big superpowers. So you hear some people stand up to him and stand up and do this. And you all don't know one damn when it comes to governance and when it comes to diplomacy and negotiation. You all are just emotional. You all don't know. And no matter who government that's there, those pressures will come to bear. It's simple like that. I'm saying, folks, give him time. Allow him and his team to do the work. That is what they were elected for, to do. All right? So, folks, don't forget, this weekend, the NDC chapter, they are having some events. All right? The NDC chapter of the NDC chapter in Canada, they're having karaoke Oil Down on the 24th. Right? I've been playing that and, showcasing that. Also, the Honorable Andy Williams, he has something down south at Heroes Park. Well, he and his team on Saturday also. All right? So quite a bit is happening on this weekend. Folks, I want to wish you all the best. Take good care. Have a wonderful weekend. And I will be back with you Sunday at 1 in the PM. Right? To continue the journey. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye for now. Bye for now. Bye for now. Unless we forget all of these things. But we must remind our people. We must have programs to remind our people of these things. Because those things that I talked about that the NDC did, the free laptop and ebooks and so on to almost 4,000 students, this thing never existed under the NNP. There are so many things that we can talk about that the NDC did over the many years ago. People, easy to forget. We're coming on